Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, my colleagues, and welcome to our today's workshop, which is going to be about teaching students to use graphic organizers. So today's workshop is going to be presented, inshallah, by Ms. Dianne Manja. She is a career educator in English and has been teaching at the English Language Institute for 5 years. She has lived here in Saudi Arabia 4 times and enjoyed this part of the world. She currently works on the curriculum and testing committee in addition to teaching academic tracks in ELI. So thank you, Ms. Dianne, for taking the lead to present today's workshop. So the floor is yours. You may start now.
Great, thank you so much. And it's really good to see everyone here. Can you see the screen okay? Yes, all right. I am gonna shift it into presentation mode, which will make it a little hard for me to see the chat, but I will try to keep up with it. I'm hoping that you're not stuck just listening to me. I do have some discussion type questions, and I want us to talk together as we look at having students use graphic organizers for their writing. As you research graphic organizers, they're also useful in reading, but tonight I want to focus very much on the writing aspects of using it. So the learning outcomes, the end of the session, God willing, you'll be able to understand the uses of various graphic organizers to help students write. You'll be able to apply graphic organizers to writing assignments. Looking at the kinds of writing we do, what kind of organizer would you choose? I will present just a couple of them. Google is your friend on types of graphic organizers. There are so many that we can use. And also, I want you to be able to explain to students why that organizer was chosen for that type of writing assignment. And as we move through this, I want to really focus on being able to explain the organizers, help the students understand what that organizer is doing for that student. Because if they understand it, they will write better. And I'm having some problems, sorry, okay. So, and here, please do feel free to jump in. What are graphic organizers? What are they? You can go ahead and talk. What are organizers? Any ideas from what you've done in the past? Okay, graphic organizers are usually done in the forms of charts, and they are designed to help students connect ideas. So they help students plan their writing. And good planning improves writing. That's why we want to make sure that we're using them. KWL charts, Dianne, yes, that would be an example of a graphic organizer. A mind map banal, yes, absolutely. That's a good example of a graphic organizer. So there are 2 types right there. Can you think of any others that you might use? If you use T-charts, concept maps, excellent, yes. If you teach using Unlock, graphic organizers are provided. But if you're teaching any of the other streams that don't use Unlock, you may be looking for your own organizers to help. Can you think of the benefits of using them in class? Idea wheels, yes, another excellent type. what would be the benefit of using graphic organizers in class? They help with summarizing. They generate ideas. Yes. Help students organize their thinking and figure out what they do know or what they don't know. Brainstorm vocabulary, visualizing concepts. Yes. Easier to understand. Absolutely. These are several benefits to using it. And so I want us to work then with simplifying. Thank you, Mr. Ibrahim. Yes. Writing focus. Yes, Noah. These are excellent benefits. And so if we know what the benefits are, the next step is to not only use them in class, but to teach students how to use them, because that will help them outside of their English class. So here's one view of graphic organizers. It's an exercise to be done, a form that organizes ideas from the book. Can you think of who might simply see graphic organizers as an exercise or a form? Is that the way the teacher would see it, the student, the administration? Who might have this point of view? Who might view them simply as an exercise to be done? So for students, yes, they're the ones who are going to say, oh, it's one exercise I have to do. The teacher wants me to do this. I'll fill in the chart. We as teachers, however, should see the graphic organizer as a means to an end. We want to help students learn how to organize their ideas. We want to help students see how ideas connect to one another. And so it's not just an exercise for them to do. It's an exercise that they do that helps them learn and helps them connect. And this is really important, that we move from not just us understanding this, but our students understanding it. Yes, Manal, they help students produce language. And in second language constructs, that can be so important. So helping students make those connections, helping them organize, helping them figure out what language they need so that they write better in their English class and in their other subjects in English. So not just an exercise the teacher wants me to do, but I'm learning how to connect ideas. I'm learning how to organize ideas. Our job as teachers is to move students towards that understanding of graphic organizers. And if we are mindful, if we're thinking about the purpose of the organizer we chose, we can help the students understand why we're doing it. We can explain what the organizer does for the thought process, how we make those connections, what kinds of connections we're making, what kinds of ideas we're putting together, what kinds of language we need. And if we can move students to understanding, then they can begin to choose and utilize graphic organizers eventually without instruction from a teacher. And this is what we want our students to do. We want to help them become better writers. Over the years of teaching English, I've seen this statistic over and over and over. But 80% of good writing is preparation. So if we want our students to improve writing, we have to teach them to prepare it ahead of time. And graphic organizers are a key part of helping our students learn how to do that. So what are they, and then why should we bother to use them? Al-Tayeb 2015 says that Arab learners of English in particular often face a greater difficulty in attaining appropriate writing levels in this language, in English. He says that it's because Arabic and English are so basically fundamentally different. And part of it is we're just not using good enough techniques to get their writing skills up. Tayeb did a study where he did an intervention. They had a writing assignment without graphic organizers, his students, and then a writing assignment a few weeks later where he had been teaching them to use graphic organizers. And he saw an improvement from one writing to the next. Now, there's more research to be done on that, but his study is suggesting that graphic organizers can help us help our students understand how to write in English. If you've been experiencing what I have, your students sometimes can speak just fine, but when you ask them to write a paragraph, they struggle to put together clear ideas. They may struggle with basic sentence structure. They struggle to create a paragraph that is coherent. And we can help them with all of these things by the use of good graphics, good organizers, good preparation and pre-writing. Graphic organizers are important learning tools that teachers use to help students organize their ideas. It's not just, here's an organizer, go do it. It's moving so that we explain the organizer to the student and help them see how those ideas are being connected. You can help them simplify a complex concept, problem solving, decision making. Some of the writing in the academic track is problem solution. And so there are organizers that help with that. They can plan their research. They can brainstorm ideas. It's a good learning tool for students of all ages. It organizes their thoughts. It can clarify the ideas. It can make complex information simple. These are all really good reasons that if you're not already using graphic organizers, you want to begin to introduce them. As I said earlier, if you're using Unlock, you have it in there. If you're using other materials, you may not have organizers already developed as part of the curriculum. And yet compare, contrast, Dianne, sequencing events, it does that. It can do all of these sorts of things in helping us teach students to plan their writing before they write. I want to look at just a few examples this evening. Writing about a person, yourself or others. This is often a level 1 type of writing assignment. Students will need to write several sentences. And there are organizers that can help us. I'd like to hear from you for a few minutes. What kind of an organizer do you think could help write about a person? A table with a list of qualities, a T-chart, a Venn diagram. What would you use? A timeline. What would you use to help your students write about a person? Timeline, qualification, using your own bio as an example, excellent. Some organizer that helps them have descriptive adjectives, bubbling or mind mapping. Okay. An example of writing a CV. Okay, excellent. These are some really, really good ideas. And some of them would work very well with some slightly more advanced student, but a level 1 student might need something either even a little more simply. So when you ask them to just, a description wheel, okay? When they describe a person or describe themselves, yes, with a diagram. At level 1, what kinds of information might they be asked to give? Accounts of people on social media, they might be asked for that. What other kinds of information might they give? Personality and appearance, yes. Talk about this person's personality, tell me what they look like, what their hobbies are. These are good level 1. Family, employment, yes. These are excellent level 1. Habits and traits, excellent types of things we might ask of level 1 students. Third person, yes, they're going to need to write in the third person if it's about someone else. Hobbies. So likes and dislikes, yes, that comes up. Personal qualities, yes. So we're used to teaching students this kind of thing. Let me ask you, in the books that you're using, favorite things, yes, Sharuk. In the books you're using, is there any scaffolding provided? In Unlock, there would be. Interests also, Siraj, yes. Unlock would provide scaffolding for you. Interests, it would provide a graphic organizer, some critical thinking exercises. What about the book you're teaching in? Do your books have any kind of scaffolding? They're given time to do some peer work, okay. There's a bit of scaffolding in that. Anything else that you're being provided? So in materials that you are either creating or being provided, sometimes the scaffolding ideas are missing. I see that. I see samples, but I don't see more than that. And the graphic organizer can be used to go back to the reading, look at how it's laid out, and then fill out a blank graphic organizer afterwards to prepare them to write the same kind of thing. And so graphic organizers are a key part of the scaffolding structure. And it's important to do that. Could you use something like this for a level 1, write about a person? Their first name and last name, date of birth, what city they're from, what country, their family, who they are in their family, if they have a job, what hobbies, what languages. This took a number of the ideas you had given, plus a few more, and said, hey, let's put it in a chart, and they fill this in. Now, if there's reading about a person, they could take this and go to the reading, fill it in, understand how it all fits, see how the sentences fit together, and then fill in an empty one about the person they want to write about. And you can use this to teach that, hey, when you're going to write about a person and introduce someone, well, first you need to give their name. That's important. Maybe when they were born and where they're from, who their family is, or what position they have in their family. Do they have a job, and what So you can actually break this down with your students. So the way I would go about this is I would have them go back to the reading they've done. And this can even be small group work. It works very well when you have 2 or 3 working together. And they take a reading. And if there isn't an appropriate one in the book similar enough to what they will write, you can create or find one for them. And from the reading, they fill this table in. And you talk them through how it works. Then you ask the students to decide what want to write about, and they get an empty table like this to fill in now. So first they do it from a reading, then they decide who they want to write about and they complete this. Then they can share it in small groups again. Here's this person I want to talk about, get some feedback from each other, how it could be improved, make adjustments, and then they write their paragraph. So it's really a fairly straightforward approach, but it's an excellent way for our students to learn the process. They look at a model, fill in the form, see how the ideas connect. They're working in groups and talking. And then they're going to do it on their own. And that's what they would then submit to get some feedback. So looking at the organizer, get a good look at it, think about it for a minute. What do you say to your students to help them understand how to use this organizer on their own? How would you talk to them? What information would you show them that it's giving them? I'd love to hear your answers after you've had a minute to think about it. How would you teach this is what I'm asking. I'd love to hear your ideas. Have them fill it out with short answers, yes. So they begin to understand, give them a sample, okay. Ask them to turn the answers into sentences. So now we're moving from just ideas to correct sentence structure, yes. And at level 1, that's very important. Try and construct a sentence from each segment of the table, yes. Show them how they can put this all together to make a paragraph. You could use this as a rubric so that they can use a checklist. Did I finish this? Did I finish this? Did I finish this? So they can use this on their own. Go over the paragraph and edit it to make sure it's flowing. Usually I have to answer all the points that are written into a question, yes. Combining sentences, create a story from the information, leave and do some of it on their own, yes. Add transition words, add adjectives. Do you see how you can help the students learn to take this and add to it to use something like this? Could you modify this organizer for other types of assignments, not just about a person? How would you do that? Describe a thing, and then you just change some of the requirements. Excellent. Yes. So you can change the descriptor items, and then people can do that. Wafa, I see that you've got your hand raised.
Yes, Miss. For example, to write about an important event, they have to write about when did that happen, how was your feeling, or describe the experience, ideas like that.
Excellent. Yes, absolutely. You just change what you want them to fill in. They could use this to do a special day, an event, choose a different subject altogether, describing a thing instead of a person. I see so many good ideas in the chat. They then can help create the required list. Talk about a holiday, a book, talk about food. So a table like this is really useful. The other question, and this is really for something for you to really think about as teachers, is the next step is not just for you to modify the organizer. Could you help your students modify an organizer like this so that it could be used in other assignments? What do you think would have to happen? When you're asking students to recreate, you're really getting into some higher order thinking. Do you think you could guide students to modify it? To be able to do that is taking them up a level. If you decide to use something like that for holidays, you would then maybe guide into a class brainstorm. What do you need to talk about a holiday? And have them say, oh, well, clothing, the day that it happens, or the time of year that it happens, or the food that we eat, or the people we visit, and have them brainstorm what's involved in the event. And as a class, they now create their own graphic organizer that they then fill in on different holidays. Do you see how you can go from, hey, students, here's a paper, fill it out, to what information do we have to put in? And that can be done as a group, brainstorming, as a group, as a class. And then they're breaking it down. They're now really having to think about what goes into a writing assignment. What information do they have to think about including? And this is really important for final exams in writing or mid-module, midterm exams in writing, because they're given a prompt they've never seen. And they have to start thinking about what they want to say and how to organize it quickly. So using an ideas map to organize their thoughts, breaking the subject down to points or parts, and you can guide them to doing that in class, as a group or as a class. And so students can be taught to begin creating their own graphic organizers. Another type of graphic organizer is the mind map. And the mind map is critical for making important connections. The center of a mind map is usually your big idea, and then the main points of that, and then the supporting details of it. It goes further and further and further out. And it shows how things are connected to each other. Very important concept of mind mapping. It's a very good way to take fairly complex ideas and break them into their pieces. So mind mapping supports learning. It improves information recording. The brain is like your closet, your wardrobe. If everything is just on the bottom of the wardrobe in a big pile, you can't find it easily. But if your clothes are hung up and neatly on the shelves, you can quickly and easily find what you need. And your brain is like that. It needs to be organized. And mind mapping is one way that you can improve that information recording, because you organize the information, and then when you need it, it's easy to find. Mind maps show how different facts and ideas are related. It's very flexible. You can use this for so many different kinds of writings, and it helps students in these ways. They can remember and recall information more easily. It's easier for them to learn new concepts. It makes complex ideas easier to understand, and it improves presenting, reading, and writing. Mind mapping can help so many areas that the students are working in, not just in their writing. And there are some strong connections between writing and presenting, because in order to present, they need to write first. And there are strong connections between good readers becoming better writers. So mind mapping has a lot of good benefits, and it's so flexible in how you choose to use it. A couple of examples of them. I've got a very simple one on the left. We're talking about a food, shawarma, and you can guide your students. What is it made of? What is it served with? How does it taste? Very simple. Or you could have a more complex one, like an event. You put the name of the event. The Al Janadreya Festival outside of Riyadh, when it happens, where it happens, what food and drink can be expected, what kinds of activities happen during the event, are special clothes needed? So mind maps can go from really quite simple to fairly complex. You've got a main idea, then you've got ideas on the side. For some reason, this just popped up. Sorry. And then you've got a place to put further details. So mind maps can be fairly straightforward. They can be more detailed as students develop and increase in their levels and improve in their ability. You'll move from simpler ones to more detailed ones. Okay, so mind mapping. Other than food and events, what could you mind map? Other than food and events, what could you mind map? I am really appreciating the participation. Certain types of chronic diseases, parts of an essay. Brilliant. Yes, anything. Festivals. These are brilliant ideas, yes. You can mind map all of these. You could mind map a person. You could mind map the parts of something, a machine. So the other question is how? Oh, story maps, yes, settings, characters, plot, problems, a special day. Brilliant ideas. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Vocabulary, yes. The parts of speech, the way it's used, the word families of it, absolutely. Spelling tricks to remember if it's a difficult word. Synonyms and antonyms, a picture, a translation, a definition. All of that goes well when it comes to doing mind maps. So here, verb, yes. Vocabulary journals, you can teach them to mind map that. So one of the things that we can do to improve writing is improve reading. Problem and the reasons for a problem. Noaf, very good, yes. How could you use a reading assignment to start the scaffolding using a mind map? Student brainstorming, yes. I do a lot of mind maps either on a whiteboard in a physical classroom or a whiteboard in Blackboard to mind map with students collectively. If you had a reading assignment that models the upcoming writing assignment, how do you think you could use a mind map in that to help scaffold the writing? Sequencing the events of something, yes. Main ideas, supporting details. The first TH keywords, yes. Keywords, yep. Getting keywords put together. Compare and contrast, you could mind map through that. So you're taking their reading assignment and you have them mind map the reading. You have the title and the key idea maybe in the middle, your introduction, your thesis. And then you have your key topic sentences and supporting details and a conclusion. But you could actually mind map out the reading assignment. And so they take the mind map, you give them maybe one to the first few times where it's filled in, and they fill in parts of it. And then another time, they fill in all of it on their own, underlining examples and extra information. There's the reading assignment, find that, put it in the correct place in a mind map. Reading is a good way to use a graphic organizer to go from reading to writing is proving to be a better way to improve student work. Classification from generic to specific, yes, Rita. You can look at the topic sentence in a paragraph, which is your broader general one, and then work it into more details. So you've got a writing assignment. You have a model in their reading. How would you scaffold a writing assignment using a mind map? What steps would you start taking? What's the first thing, the second thing? What steps would you need to take for a writing assignment that uses a mind map? Title and main idea, that should be the center. Very good. The aim of the writing assignment, why are we writing this? An outline in a mind map, maybe. The objectives may be somewhere within the mind map. So we need to outline, we need objectives. Before I got to an outline, I probably would mind map and move from my mind map to an outline. Title, thesis, question can go in the very center and then outward from there. So if you want your students to go from, here's a mind map, fill it in, to, hey, we've done a mind map before. How could you create one for this writing assignment? How do you take the students from giving them a graphic organizer of a mind map to allowing them to design a graphic organizer? What steps could you take them through? where they are designing their own graphic organizer, their own mind map in this case. I can't see if hands go up, unfortunately, easily, but I would love for you to participate. My apologies. So what questions would you ask them to help teach students to mind map? Okay, so ask them to choose the idea and then put subtitles. Ask them to start with what is the main idea. Ask them to create their own main elements, those outside circles, to come up with supporting details. Excellent. If you could walk your students through creating a mind map, initially maybe as a group, and then eventually even on their own, your students can take that very idea and you keep explaining, hey, when you have to do writing for another class, you can use this outside of your English class. Everything we do as English teachers is to prepare our students for other professors. What we're doing is preparing our students for somebody else. And our teaching needs to keep in mind that I'm looking down the road. I'm thinking about what I want them to be able to do on their own when they leave my class. And that to me is the importance really of teaching the students to create their own graphic organizers, to be able to sit down and draw a mind map quickly and easily in any classroom they walk into. Another one, T-charts, two sides of a topic. Two sides of a topic. It's called a T-chart because basically it looks like a big letter T. You put one side and the opposite side, it can be, oh, I don't know, compare two things. It could be a pro-con. It could be advantages and disadvantages, a problem and a solution, compare, contrast. They have to learn and transfer these skills, absolutely. Likes and dislikes. So a T-chart is a very good one to teach them when they need to look at two sides of something or two things. This type of chart is really useful for that. It's good for a problem and some solutions, and then you're going to want to expand that into even further, but it's a good start for a problem solution. I'm trying to decide on if this is a good solution, pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages, agree or disagree. Categories of like pollution, I could do that. I could put air pollution and then list the types of what causes that. Water pollution and list causes of that. So T-charts are also very flexible. So you've just answered my first question. Excellent. Cause effect. So we've just talked about things students compare in class. Sometimes they compare animals, they compare people, they compare solutions. In the academic stream, we do a lot of it, problem solution. And in talking about solutions, we have to look at advantages and disadvantages of our solutions. So we do a lot with that. You've got a longer listening exercise or a reading exercise. And we're talking about endangered animals. The unit is on endangered animals. We've got listening about endangered animals. We've got some reading about an endangered animal. Going back to the listening or the writing or the reading, how could you use a T-chart to explain what they were listening to or reading when it comes to endangered animals? How could you do a T-chart with that? Comparison between the animals, yes. Classifying them, excellent. Mamdu, yes. Classify the problem. Advantages and disadvantages of different solutions. Yes, go ahead. I heard somebody's mic come on for a second. You're more than welcome to raise your hand and jump in, even interrupt me if you need to. A left side, put the animal, right side, the details about the animal. Yes. How we've tried to help them before, what we're doing now. Yes. Once they've done that, taken from a listening or a reading, you do another one where they choose an animal in small groups and they create the T-chart together. You're letting them work together to create a T-chart. It probably would take, depending on the level of the class, anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, because you're preparing them for a writing exercise. So T-charts, other ones that incredibly helpful in class. You want to talk about things you like or don't like in foods. Some people are very strong about, I like this food, not that food. You could ask students to write up something like that. That's more personal, that's warmer. So the T-chart is another easy one to use. And again, you explain to the students what they're doing. Every time the students use a graphic organizer, you explain what that organizer does and what it's useful for. And tell the students they can use it outside of your class. Constantly be going back to that. Wise and Cooper says that well-designed graphic organizers should guide students to categorize key concepts. I think there's a misspelling and I do apologize, but it is to bring to the surface the interconnection of ideas, help them really see how ideas are interconnected, and it can help students construct knowledge. This is important. We want our students constructing knowledge, not just writing something. The more they construct their knowledge, the better they understand how English works, the better they become as readers and writers. A graphic organizer should lead students to thoughtfully analyze the prompt they have for the writing assignment. In my classes over a career, one of the biggest issues I run into with students of a variety of ages is they don't read the prompt fully. They get one idea and run with it and miss maybe the most important part. And so teaching students to organize first can teach them to really think about the prompt they have and make sure they answer each part of that prompt well. In classroom settings, this is easily done in small groups at first, and then they move out from there and create deep and full graphic organizers. It's important that we teach our students to think about what they were asked to write about so that they don't skip through. When they get into their non-English language class, the preparatory year, they're moved out of that into their normal career choices. They need to think about what they were asked to write about. And a graphic organizer, if the student has mastered that before they leave our classroom, they can look at the prompt, break it into the pieces, create the organizer or choose an organizer, and begin to plan what they want to write. It's a very important skill. Constructing knowledge is higher order thinking. We want our students doing that and not just writing the same thing over and over without thinking about it. We want them to be careful about this. We said that the learning outcomes were that you would understand the use of various organizers. And then I've got to help students write. Not that you understand them, but you understand them well enough to help your students. Hey, yeah, I think I've got the gist of this, is that first one. The second space is, I think I'm okay with it. I'm not sure. I need to do some more thinking and research. The last one is, I really want to do more research on this. I'm not sure. So think about where you would put yourself on where we are on that. Do you think you can apply graphic organizers to writing assignments? If you are not being given an organizer to scaffold, can you pick the right type of graphic organizers for the writing assignments you're giving your students? Are you comfortable with that? Hey, yeah, I got this. I want to look at more graphic organizers. I'm not sure I know enough about graphic organizers to do that. And again, you're going to think of that for yourself. The last part we said was explain. Can you explain to students why the organizer you chose was chosen for the type of writing assignment you gave? How do you feel about where you are? Do you understand? And I only touched on a few. If you type in graphic organizers to Google, you will find hundreds of graphic organizers. The key is to find ones that are fairly simple and fairly direct for your students. And then to be able to apply it. If you don't have one, find one that you know works. And then walk your students through it. Are you comfortable walking your students through that graphic organizer and explaining what it does and how they can then create one on their own? Coming across these. That's what I said I was hoping to get through tonight. That we would have a handle on at least a few graphic organizers. I would be here for 4 or 5 hours if I went through too many organizers. Can I pick and apply them? Depends on the topic to a degree. Yes, Sharuk, it absolutely does. It absolutely does. Sometimes the topic is going to be at issue. Do you have any other questions? Would you like to explore using other graphic organizers for different lessons? And if you need to get in touch with me, that is my work email. And you are free to get in touch and to talk about this with me. I would be happy to do this with you. I know tonight was short. This type of session either goes very long and weighs us down and becomes boring very quickly, or does need to be a bit shorter so that you can move out and do this on your own. Thank you all for coming tonight and participating. It has been my pleasure.
All right, so the pleasure is ours. So thank you, Ms. Manja, for this informative, wonderful workshop and tips, all the information you provided. So yes, we really enjoyed it. I shared with you 3 links. The first one is the evaluation form. Please evaluate the evaluation form, and the certificate, inshallah, will be sent shortly after the workshop. The second one is the appointment system, our appointment system. So please share it with your students. And the third one is our YouTube channel. So please again share the link of our YouTube channel, and inshallah we'll upload this wonderful workshop inshallah within 24 hours. So let's see if you have any questions, comments, concerns you would like to discuss. So the floor is yours now. So still have inshallah about 5 minutes or about 5 minutes or more comments or questions. So thank you, Ms. Manja, and thank you all for attending the presentation or the workshop.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. This has been great. Yeah, sir, I answered your question in the chat. There are literally hundreds of graphic organizers. And to be honest with you, Google has hundreds. If you just type in graphic organizers, it will start showing them to you. And again, thank you everyone for coming. This has been my pleasure.
All right, so it seems that there are no comments or questions. So thank you all. Thank you all, Ms. Manja, and thank you for the attendees. And we hope to see you, inshallah, in our upcoming workshops, inshallah. So stay tuned, enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you, inshallah, soon. Thank you all.